You lay out.
Rebirth of a nation. Hebrew kingdom building.
You back up now. You got me. You good. Praise usual. All right. So, I'm gonna read you this scripture real fast. And so Yahuwah, there's a lot of things I could talk about. But what I'm seeing right now in all the tribes, and so this is a message to the tribes, right, is that again, every lesson I do is a message to the tribes, because I don't care about, I know it sounds bad when I say I don't care, but it's really the truth. So I don't care about other ministries. I don't have nothing against them, but Yahuwah didn't give me to shepherd them, right? It's just like how if I, like my family, I'm not trying to tell you how to raise your son, because that's your son. You know, I'm talking about in the tribe, of course you give wisdom. I'm saying it's the people you don't know. You meet somebody at Walmart, right? You ain't gonna try to tell them how to raise their children because you don't know them people, right? Whatever they're doing is what they're doing. So our father's job is to take care of who? His family and his children. So that's the reason why I say I don't care about these other ministries. I don't have nothing against them. They're not my meditation. It's not my job. It's not my responsibility. So my responsibility and chief responsibility is to make sure that everybody within this house, the house of the nation of Rebirth, is functional and have everything they need to survive. All right? So saying that to say, one of the main issues that we got in this strong delusion is lack of honor. Right? There's a strong lack of honor. Now, the lack of honor comes from what we came out of, because this place taught us not to honor. Right? For a lot of us, giving honor to somebody else is really two things. One, we feel like it's demeaning to us, and or it's esteeming them to a place where they shouldn't be. And so a lot of times in the midst of the assembly, we have confusions, oughts, offenses based off dealing with one another without honor. Right? But it's the honor. This is what it sounds real simple, but I'm gonna tell you like this. That's the strong delusion, to be men and women without honor. Right? Because if you don't have honor, then you open yourself up to every unclean ruach. Right? And so a nation without honor is not a nation. You want to know why America's falling?
Has no honor.
None. The only reason why America lasts this long is because we needed a prison. You hear me? The only reason why America lasted this long is because Yahuwah needed a prison. America was on, be honest, when America first started, it was like just barely moving, barely fledgling. It was the baby boomer era when America just started taking off and becoming where people, because they went longer. It was like the 50s. It was like the 50s. 40s, 50s.
It started right after World War. It started right after World War II.
Yeah. So, but Yahuwah boosted this place because it was prophesied that we would be in captivity for 400 years. Right? It's something we had to learn. Remember he says that in Zechariah, he says, I forwarded the affliction. Right? In other words, it even went longer than where Yahuwah had originally allotted. Or they went, I put it this way, they went further than where Yahuwah originally allotted. So the idea is that Yahuwah needed a prison. So, but this place, that the concept of America is so preposterous. It's preposterous because it don't exist in the world. A place where people all come together with every different belief and concept and just come together and work as one unit. The last time we saw that was Babylon. And what happened? What happened to Babylon? Every nation that's successful is a nation that has one ideology, one thought process, one faith. Every nation that's successful has a system in place. I mean, I applied this before the advent of this current captivity, right? This current captivity was boosted up because we had to go to prison, right? But before this time period, all the nations that have been around for thousands of years, You know how they operate? With honor. Even with, at least within their own people. Right? Why you think that you have those dynasties in China that lasted so long? You think in those dynasties you can go and just say anything and do anything and do something reckless? You couldn't even do anything against your parents. Right. In those nations. Because they would do what? They have what they call honor killings. You be in them nations, you disrespect your parents, you do something wild. They're gonna put you in the grave.
I got him, Chief.
Yeah, in those cultures, you will kill yourself to restore the honor back to your family.
Right.
Yeah, so they call it laying on the sword.
Right.
So they will fix the sword towards their own chest, and they will just lay on it because they understand that the honor of their nation and their family is above their own individual life.
So in the late 90s to the early 2000s, there was this huge rising in Canada with honor killings. So it was young girls who were not wearing their hijab. And, because we're in Canada, so we don't need to wear a hijab. We can do what we want because the culture is different. Their family's like, no, you wear that hijab. So you had a lot of young girls who were not doing that, or who were caught talking to boys who they weren't supposed to. And so these girls there was a whole bunch of honor killings happening, like, for a bunch of years. And there was this huge outcry, from the government, from activists, different organizations. It's murder, da-da-da-da. So technically, you're in a different country, so it's considered murder. But in their culture, she brought dishonor to their family. And so it was either going to be the father, the brother, or the uncle who had to do the killing in order to restore that honor back to their family because she's brought shame on the family. So, growing up hearing these things, we're like, man, that's so extreme. That's extreme. That's crazy. That's murder. That's crazy. But it's because we have no concept of honor.
Right. Because you are an American, which is a
Right.
domination.
Right. So at the time I was a Canadian. And so I thought that thing was just wicked. That's wickedness. How can you murder your 14-year-old child, your 16-year-old child? That's murder. Having no understanding of honor. Am I saying to run out and go kill your child? No. That's not what we're saying. But having a basic understanding of what it means to have honor and what it means to dishonor somebody or someone. We don't have that right now.
So it's a strong delusion to think you're going to dwell in Yahuwah's kingdom without honor. It's a strong delusion to think that you're going to be in Yahuwah's kingdom and not honor someone that's above you or somebody that's laboring with you. It's a strong delusion. It's a strong delusion to think that you're gonna dwell in that nation and be an individual. Right. Because individuality came from Western mindsets. Every Eastern culture is a collective. They deal in tribes. They deal in clans, villages. It's a collective thought process. So these honor killings, where do you think they got it from? Yahuwah. Romans 1, verse 26. For this cause, Alua gave her up to vile affections, because they want to mix everything. For even the women, they changed the natural into what was against nature. In other words, they became lesbians. And likewise, the men become homosexuals, leaving the natural use of a woman and burn their lust towards one another. Men with men working, which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves the recompense of their error, which was meat. And even as they did not retain Allure in their knowledge, because it's about self. Allure gave them over to what? It's that strong delusion. So a lot of people with reprobate minds in Yasharel, whole nation of reprobates, because they're honorless. They have no concept of who Yahuwah is and how a nation is. Women without honor, men without honor, elders and imams without honor. I'm talking about in Yasharel. I ain't talking about just in rebirth. Here we go. 29. This is what it says. 28, my bad. It says, and even as they did not retain Allure in their knowledge, Allure gave them over to a reprobate mind, a strong delusion. To do what? because it's what they really wanted to do. Because they love it. People slaughter their brother and their sister because they got no honor. People slander their elders because they got no honor. People speak up against everything that goes on in the midst of the nation because they got no honor. You know you don't do that to? Ancient civilizations. You don't. That's an American thing. That's an English thing. That's a democracy thing. It's not a theocracy thing. How do we know this? We at 29, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, hate of allure, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to the parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgments of the Lord, listen, that they who commit such things are don't even do the same, people have pleasure in them. They also worthy of death. This is Romans. We're going to go to the Torah, but we in Romans 1. He told you, so like, oh, what's what? So that means that backbiters, according to the Torah, could be put to death. People who are despiteful can be put to death. Proud people can be put to death. Boasters can be put to death. Inventors of evil things put to death. People that's disobedient to parents, you done read it. Under how many witnesses? 2 or 3 witnesses. It said, just like Oyada say, honor killing said to be the father or the uncle. That's what it says in the Torah. The father, the family have to go do what? Stone them with stones. Where do you think they got this from? They got it from Yahuwah. That means that fornication worthy of death. Wickedness in general worthy of death. Covetousness is worthy of death. Envy is worthy of death. Murder, of course, is death. So it's gonna, debates. Debate is worthy of death. I ain't saying, I'm telling y'all just read this, right? This 22 says, who knowing the judgment of the Lord, they that commit such things are worthy of death. And people who have pleasure in doing the same. That means the people that's sitting around with you debating on what the nation should do, worthy of death. The people that's envious are the people that's doing the work, worthy of death. The whisperers in the innocent assembly, worthy of death. And Yahuwah made them like that. Because nobody in these trials is about to kill nobody. Yahuwah's going to kill you. But he's going to separate you first. That's death. That's death within itself. We were talking about what? The sanctuary cities. Whoever catch you outside the gates, you're going to be put outside the camp. But then when you get put outside the camp, you go and say more things because you never had honor in you in the first place. Honorless people. People that, men that's like jelly for a spine. Men that go around talking like women. Women that go around talking like men. Coming at leaders. On Facebook. Popping on shots. Lying the whole time. Debating. Because I feel like the leadership shouldn't do things as blah, 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 blah. They brought this judgment. I don't agree with it. I feel like sa. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that. They this, they that, they blah, blah, blah. You ain't got no honor. You are trash. You're trash. You think you're going to duplicate that? I just told you all the things that's worthy of death. You think Yahuwah's going to duplicate that? Because whatever the seed that's in you, more emotions talk in his lesson, schizophrenia revelation. He was talking about that thing called the cherry blossom effect, or the cherry blossom experiment. Have y'all heard about this? What they did was they took rats, and they had this smell from this cherry blossom, just regular rats. And what they do is every time they smell the cherry blossom, they would shock them, shock the rats, to the point where the rats had developed this response towards a cherry blossom. Just a cherry blossom. they started being in fear of cherry blossoms. Right? So they'll go around, you put a cherry blossom in, the rats will wild out, go the opposite direction. So you know what happened? So eventually those rats had children. You know what them children had? A hatred for cherry blossoms. Never seen the cherry blossoms. Never been around them. Then they took they just took the semen and then put a whole nother batch of rats, but in there they had the same issue. So that dishonor, that hate, that malice, that deceit, that envy, that debate that you got in you, you're going to pass a seed with the exact same thing in it. Because it's all in you. That thing done travel down 2 and 3 generations. Now Korah back. David in the Bible is back. All the enemies of Yasharel is back. Now the Ammonites are back. Right? Now Esau is back. I thought we done defeated them. But it's through your lineage, through your seed, you done brought them back. Because all that stuff is tied up in your heart because you have no honor. The honor is the root of everything. You have to honor your father. You have to honor your wife. You have to honor your husband. Scripture says, submit yourselves one to another. I done had conversations. Now, I know this is going to happen because Yahuwah told me. I told y'all, came here a couple weeks ago. Yahuwah said, I said, listen, I pray that all y'all manifest. Instantly after that. Manifestation. I even had a conversation of somebody that's in the manifestation saying they heard me say be manifest, and they started to manifest and continue to manifest with just that bio that's in they nefesh, just spewing out wild stuff. This is what I'm saying about how you trash. Ain't anybody that does that, you trash. Listen, I was in the church. When I was a pastor in the church, right? But I was in the church when Yahuwah called me. Yahuwah called me. Not no man called me. Church hated me for it. Church tried to destroy me. I was 18 years old. Yahuwah appeared to me in a vision. I flipped everything. Everybody in the church, literally for years, tried to destroy me and put out every rumor. They lied to my parents. They literally had me as public enemy number one in the church. And anybody that knew me from back then would attest to it. Am I lying? Right? You will appear to me. You will call me then. It wasn't no man. So the gist of it is this is what I'm trying to get you to say. Even with all the stuff I went through with those people, you know what I didn't do? Go and even drag them. You want to know why? Because I had honor. Honor. Oh, you telling me I won't say none of their names. You know, it was a crazy experience. It was crazy. More than anybody that I pretty much I know of. It was crazy. But you know what I didn't do? I had enough honor that Yahuwah put in, deposited in me, that kept me with the mindset that I didn't go on Facebook dragging them, saying their names and stuff. Because Yahuwah let me know, he said, that's done. That's over. You got to move on. I was riding in the car one time thinking I was completely done. I told the assembly, I told the leadership this. Riding somewhere at one point in time. And then because I hadn't said nothing about them, went on, bought my business, went on and then started pastoring, did all kind of other stuff. And I was riding home one day and then Yahuwah said, you bitter. I said, what? Nah, you ain't bitter. I ain't saying nothing about these people. And Yahuwah said, yeah, you are. You bitter. You bitter. I said, but how am I bitter though? He said, you bitter. I said, okay. And I just started praying. And then I started purging. Because I had bitterness that I didn't even know I had bitterness about the situation. But you know what I still didn't do? Drag them. It's genetic. This is what I'm trying to get you to see about more emotions, the schizophrenia revelation. Because some of y'all schizophrenic. Schizophrenic. You don't have no honor in you. And you can't put honor in you. Yahushua has deposited. You have to be open enough that Yahuwah can use you and deposit a certain amount of honor in you to be able to honor your mother and your father, to honor your sister and your brother. That's the whole Torah. You realize that? Everything hangs on that. Everything. Honor. Your ability to treat somebody else like a person. Your ability to treat your brother and sister like you wish to be treated. Those that are in the way with you. That's the whole, if you break down the 10, it's all it's about. How to worship Yahuwah and how to deal with your brother and sister. They'll teach you about how to honor certain positions. But this is the issue we have to about building a nation with no honor. Only what you're going to have is upheaval, rebellion, and a fall. That's all you can have. Man, look. Every time you hear about a war, you hear about these people called the insurgents or rebels. Most of the time, those wars is by this group of people who are sided against the government, who try to overthrow it in a coup, right, in the midst of the country. But you know most of the time what happens? It's the United States of America. 9 times out of 10, it's the United States of America. The United States of America will go over there, they'll take somebody, right, and train them to be an insurgent. Then they will go over there and get people that are from the same tribe to turn on the governing body. Hence, that person will go and recruit more people. Eventually, when the United States group, before they go in, you always hear them about rebels. You always hear about insurgents. You always hear about this group of people that's inside of these countries that's not good with the government because of the oppressive rule of dictatorships. Because capitalism is not oppressive. Evidently. Even though capitalism was birthed off slavery. That's how it happened. The root of capitalism was capitalizing off black blood and sweat. Bodies. These nations were broke. They were broke. And they were lazy. And they couldn't build a nation. So they said, let's go get the nation builders. You can just act like that didn't happen. That's exactly what happened. And again, go watch Reclaiming the Throne. They were looking for specific tribes. Again, how is a person be a slave and then the next generation they designing steam engines? But they didn't know nothing. Which, think about that in the current time. Think about how long it takes a family that's been set back. Think about we've been set back since, just going back to crack epidemic, and how we've been playing catch up ever since then. You talking about in a couple of generations, like just completely destroyed some people. You mean to tell me they come through all that being chopped up and being skinned alive and being blown up from the inside and being fed to sharks and all that kind of stuff, and then being stripped of everything, being thrown into breeding centers, all that stuff, everything that you know, and then the next generation, they geniuses? This is what I'm trying to get you to see. But the issue is insurgents or rebels, somebody that doesn't have honor, that don't agree with the government. Next thing you know, the nation collapses. What happened in Serbia?
Americans came over there and in 1991, it was the country was called Yugoslavia, and then Americans came there just exactly the way you described it, and they picked. Can I name the people that they used? Franjo Tuđman and Alija Izetbegović, and they basically picked them, and we're all one people living together. We spoke the same language. Some were Muslim, some were Roman Catholic, some were Serbian Orthodox, and they all lived in peace for many years since World War II, basically since 1945. They lived in peace, prosperity, and they basically picked those two guys and trained them up, greased them up with money, infiltrated them. They created their parties, political parties,
right.
And basically after that, within like a year, they were killing each other, slaughtering each other, putting each other on stakes, just killing each other all over the place, man.
No honor. They caught somebody that didn't have no honor. And he spread it like a virus within the midst of the nation to cause the nation to fall. This is what we're going to face if we are duplicating people that have that ability in them. Right? The cherry blossom effect. Somebody that has, this is the reason why you heard earlier we saying be healed, be healed. be healed. Because what happens is it's the trauma that that mouse incurred that caused this defect that he passed down from generation to generation to generation. So that seed, that father was going to do the exact same thing. So in this time of Veruca, if you can't be healed, you got to be cast out the way. If you can't be healed from that trauma, if you can't be healed to the point where you can be trusted, you can't be in the kingdom. You can't use you. You're a piece that can't be put in the puzzle. This is what I'm trying to get you to see, the importance of being restored in your mind and in the flesh. This is how your bloodline gets redeemed. This is how it happens. Because listen, it's a certain mindset you have. That mindset affects certain chemicals that's released in your body. This is the reason why Yahuwah says about when you slaughter an animal, what you're supposed to do. Calm it down. Why? You're not supposed to strangle it. Why? It poisons the blood, right? It releases toxins and defiles the body, right? So what happens is it's a certain mindset that you have that creates that. So when you come to Yahushua allows you to be able to receive the Ruach to what? Change the literal chemistry of your body. That's how you redeeming your bloodline. Now when you have that seed, now just like you can have positive responses, negative responses, you can create a certain thing that passed down in your genealogy. You can have negative, you can have positive, do the same thing. You can have a positive response or be put in a specific environment and that thing be passed down from what? Generation to generation, generation. You can come into the house of Yahuwah and start serving him, and this thing becomes genetically embedded in you. This is why we've been doing things in this assembly, and we're like, man, all of a sudden I get somebody send me an article about how they did it in Spain and Portugal, or how they did it in West Africa, and we ain't know nothing about it. It's in what? Your DNA. Now this thing's been activated, because after the Ruach comes upon you, then there's a different set of circumstances that's affecting your body. It's bringing you to a certain state where now when you pass that seed down, you passing down a righteous seed. You pass down a seed that's no longer affected with those stresses. You're almost doing a countermeasure to what was actually done to you in the past. So if you can't get healed and you're just a person without honor and just reckless, somebody that's about their own esteem and their own heart, you are a threat to Yahuwah's nation. That's why I say trash. Scripture says that salt that's lost its savor is good for nothing but to do what? And then trod underfoot a man. Why? Because you got no function. That's what all sin is. Sin is dysfunction. Sin is evil is the opposite of good. What is told? Function. You're still dysfunctional. And because of the traumas that you have, you create these rifts that rip up Yahuwah's kingdom. Rip up the nation. You will come, I just read you all the things that's worthy of death. So all those things come out the heart. All those things come where? It says that's the issues of life, those experiences. So now you got to come into this place, and that stuff got to be reconciled. That's the only way you can create this new harmonious lifestyle and produce these things in your body to reproduce. If you take a tree and you plant it in soil that's been poisoned, what kind of fruit you going to have, if you have any? Poisonous fruit. So you got to allow somebody to uproot that and plant you in a different ground. But when you have no honor, when you start to be uprooted, you're going to try to not only fight, but you're going to try to bring out every other plant with you. They try to tear up the whole garden. And this is what I'm saying. I'm seeing this. I ain't surprised, but I'm saying like, man, because Yahuwah told me this stuff is going to happen. Manifestation after manifestation after manifestation. I'm like, man, it's a strong delusion. People are for being sealed. People that had chances to repent didn't have to repent. Then I'm seeing other people who have been on the opposite end of things for a long time, and all of a sudden Yahuwah's restoring them. They getting it. All right, man, this person, I done had to minister to this person for a year and a half. Now they got it. Seemed like they would never got it. Now they ascending. The other person is falling off the face of the earth. Right? This is what I'm trying to get you to see about the importance of honor and understanding the mindset of the ancient world. We've been so indoctrinated. We're that mouse that's been shot for so long. And now every time we hear about order or we hear about government, those things are like traumatic words for us. The reason, even the word Adonai, praise Yahushua, that we went to the Hebrew word, because even the word master, if they don't sit on us right. You understand what I'm saying? You say the word master, that body be like, Yeah. I mean, it's for real, though. Because of why? Trauma that's been passed down from what?
So to that word master, so the Hebrew term for that is massa. So our ancestors used to say it during slavery, but it literally means oppressor, right? So we look at the term master and we equate that to Yahusha. When we say master, we think that he's this oppressive force, right? It's because of the trauma that's still in us. But Adonai tells us that he is sovereign, right? He is everything that we need to strive towards, right? So this is what Maury was just saying about disassociating between the trauma that's genetic and the truth.
Right.
Adonai, even though it means master, it's not according to the trauma you've suffered, because that is a Hebrew term, massa. And the trauma would tell us, oh, that's oppressive. But it's not the truth, though.
And our trauma will connect authority with oppression.
Exactly. Yep.
And we can't not connect those two things together, right? So we'll see things through that lens, because we think, like I said, that traumatic, some things are trigger words. Submission, you start doing the Harlem Shake. Master, I mean, for real, we do. Bowing, we'll go into that in a second. Can't stop, won't stop. You know what I'm saying?
Can't bow, won't bow.
Can't bow, won't bow. Right? Because we feel like, man, you feel like you're losing something. You feel like something is being taken away from you. Because the trauma that you have that's in your genetics is humiliation. So you take submission and tie it to humiliation.
This is 3 John chapter 1. And he's acknowledging that in their assembly. In verse 9, he says, I've written something to the assembly, but Diotrephes, who likes to put himself first,
Right.
does not acknowledge our authority.
Right.
So if I come, I'll bring up what he's doing, talking wickedness against us. Not content with that, he refuses to welcome the brothers, no honor,
Right.
and also stops those who want to, and puts them out of the assembly. Beloved, do not imitate evil, but imitate good. Whoever does good is from Alua.
That's right.
Whoever does evil has not seen Alua.
Whoever that's dysfunctional.
Not thub. Not good. It's not, they're not of the same body. It's genetic.
Right. Right. So because of that, we make these connections. Like I said, submission and humiliation, master and oppression, right? All these connections that we have, and then we'll associate certain things like behaviors to it. But this is what I'm saying, though. We can't be evil, right? We got to be tube. We got to be good. We got to be functional. We got to be able to function within the body. A body that has cells that's working against itself is cancerous.
So the sanctuary city is the body.
Right.
And it has to purge out cancerous cells.
Everybody get this? You know what they call? Anyway. So again, I'm trying to get y'all to get to see this picture before we go on about this importance of what I'm saying about honor. We have to change the mentality because your brain has been chemically made to think a certain way about all these things because of the oppression, right? So because of this, now we have to retool our mind about how we see everything. We have to literally purge. When we said write down everything that's left for you in Christianity, right? We got to purge those things. Your thought process of how you see authority, how you see rulership, how you see elders, because all those things is triggers, because in our mind, like, no, we've been oppressed so long, I'm going to be the ruler. How can they be over me? Who said, all these are the things. But on the flip side, Yahushua says, well, the Shaul says, let every man do what? Esteem more. That's how you ascend. He that ascend must first. That's how you become that's why, listen, a God is a ministering spirit. That's what it is. So that means that in order for you to ascend or to become fully mature, you have to become a minister to people, which means you have to know who they are, and you have to move with honor, submission, right? These are all the things that are prevalent when we talk about in the midst of the assembly. I'm trying to move through this thing. Again, we've been saying this, Hebrews 12, 22-24, but you'll come to Mount Zion, to the city of living Lord, the Shalom, Jerusalem, to a innumerable company of what? Malachim, to the general assembly and to the feast days in the assembly of the firstborn, which are written in the Shamaim, and to the Lord judge of all, to the rocks of just men made perfect or mature, and Yahushua, the mediator of a new covenant, speaking of things better that are able. So now you're coming into the midst of the order. So the number one thing that chiefly that we need in the midst of this order is honor. Honor. If a child can't honor Yahuwah, they're going to hate their father. If he can't honor their mother, they're going to turn on the brethren eventually. There's something in them that's going to go astray or go left instead of going right. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to take it upon ourselves to look at ourselves and then not just move with the mindset that we have from oppression. I'm trying to speed this up, right? So we talked about these things last time, right? And we talked about what's going on. I'm saying this real fast. We talked about this in the assembly before y'all came live. So now we in the beginning of World War III. Things are going to ramp up. Time is going to speed up. It's going to be more and more cutoffs. It's going to be more and more judgments. It's going to be more and more purging. I said this before. The assemblies are too fat. What I mean by that is there's a lot of people that's in the assemblies that's not of Yahuwah and not of that tribe, because they're not about the nation. They're not about Yahushua, and they're not about the nation. They don't serve the king, and they don't serve the nation. And because of that, they're useless to the nation. So all the people are going to be removed, because right now they're worthy of death. Honorless. Let's keep going. Again, a strong delusion. Father Malachim and demons reveal. I stole somebody's book cover and put it on there. I was like, that's what it is. Right? Father Malachim and demons reveal. People are manifesting, being revealed. We also being revealed. Masters who are gathering people to themselves, causing turmoil in the midst of the houses, causing things contrary to the kingdom. These things are manifesting right now. Exodus 22:28. Thou shalt not revile what? The alls, nor curse the ruler of thy people. This is, like, why are you talking about these things? Yahuwah has me, this is the thing, I'm going to say this again. I don't get a kick off having to hammer these things. It's not like, man, I can't wait to get to the assembly so I can say these hard things, right? It's not like that. But what Yahuwah let me know is that if I don't say it, then nobody can be healed. Nobody can be healed from it if I don't speak it. Secondly, Yahuwah's going to judge me if I don't say it. So if anybody that know me know I ain't about no boosting or saying this to be boosted up. I'm saying this because this is going to be your salvation. Because if you're against the nation, then you're against Yahushua. If you're against Yahushua, then you're going to Sheol. Revile what? Nor do what? So what's going on right now is that people are manifesting because they got no honor in them, and they're cursing the nation, they're cursing the people, and they're going to increase as we see the day approaching. Why? Because Yahuwah says he's sending them what? That they might do what?
So I've been kind of itching since you read Romans 1 to kind of talk about reprobate. Because I had went over the understanding of reprobate a while back, but it just came back to my remembrance when you was just bringing that up, right? So when it says, I'll deliver them over to a strong delusion, that they may believe a lie. So it's funny because that's in Romans, like Maury Yahusha said, but it's translated in Greek. So Greek is like abstract. It's according to what they see, what they feel, right? Hebrew is more concrete, right? It's a substantial language. It's a action, like verb, right? It's what you're doing, right? So when you look at that term for reprobate, it's akidemos, and it's in the Greek, right? But even the Greeks understood something. So the definition of it is failing to pass the test. So it could also be transliterated as choosing to fail the test. So this goes back to what Ahmad was saying about character and what Maury Yahusha was saying about honor. So there's something within yourself that Yahuwah is showing you. Yahuwah is revealing to you about your character, about your choice making, right? That you may turn it around, that you may do the opposite, but you're choosing not to, right? So you've already made a decision in yourself that I'm going to be reprobate of mine because of my choices, because of my decision making. You're going to disagree with what Yahuwah is showing you, right? Go ahead, Amar. I'm going to hop back in.
Saying, it's disagreeing with what Yahuwah is showing you about you. This is one of the things that Dawood was really, really good about, and this is one of the reasons why Yahuwah loved him so much. Because when Yahuwah would show him himself, he would be like, you right, it's me. I'm a problem. I repent. Create in me a clean heart. Renew a right and steadfast ruach in me. Because he recognized that when Yahuwah calls out a sin in you, he's not talking about something he thinks or suspects. He's stating what is true.
Right.
And if we can't agree with what Yahuwah has said, he has no use for us.
Yeah.
Because he's pointing out something that needs to be changed or transformed. And if we're unwilling to see it, unwilling to deal with it, then you've come to the, like boys and men say, you've come to the end of the road.
Yeah. So the word says that Yahuwah doesn't try or test more than a man can bear, but he gives him an escape, the door. That was mentioned earlier, right? So if you're choosing to fail the test, right, because Yahusha is the door, Yahuwah provides you with the escape, right? It means that there's no Yahusha in you. So when you look at that definition as well, it says unapproved, counterfeit. It also says a castaway. It says rejected, right? Unapproved, worthless. That's what Maury Yahusha is saying, that these people who have made the choice to be reprobate, who have chosen to fail the test, even though Yahusha has given them an escape, he's given them an understanding to walk in, he's given them the light to walk in, he's given them an example, a testimony, you've tasted of it. But you still choose to be that manner of man that Yahuwah is saying, you don't need to be this manner of man. But because you choose to continue in that path, Yahuwah is going to deliver you over to it. But you're also labeled as an unapproved castaway. All there's left for you to do is to be cast out because you're dysfunctional. You have no use to the nation or the building of Yahusha's kingdom.
So you're dysfunctional to the support of the nation. That's how you're dysfunctional. So going land back on what you just said. So the dysfunction don't just mean that, you got issues with math, right? That's not what it's talking about. What it's saying is that you're not able to support the furthering of the nation. Like you're unable to support the inner workings, like to make the nation successful. You dysfunctional in supporting the nation. Because each one of y'all are what? Lively stones that build up the nation. So now what you become is you become a stone that's faulty, that can't bear the weight or build up the house. Right.
That's what a criminal is. A criminal is someone that has proven that they can't be trusted to to build society or to further the advancement of society. So what they do is they remove them because they can't be part of the building of society.
So I just wanted to because Maury Yahusha's about to go into this, and that's the reprobate of mind. It's a choice. It's choosing to not acknowledge what's faulty about yourself, to correct it, and then you bring all of that vile, that gunk into the body of Yahusha and ultimately threaten to collapse it. Right. When Yahusha wants you to build up his nation and his kingdom.
So that's the proof. So listen, when I'm going to go back and say this. I'm just going to clarify. I'm not talking about no one person. What I'm talking about is a series of events that took place over the last 2 months. Right? I ain't talking about no one person. Because this also, somebody's watching this video right now. Right? They're talking about me. Because you're so vain. You're so vain. You probably think this lesson about you. But, because you ain't that important. But the gist of it is that, so it's a series of events that Yahuwah been showing me. If y'all remember, I came into the assembly and I said this. I said this is going to be the year of manifestations. Yeah, all these things start popping off, right? And so what I'm saying is a collective thing. I'm not talking about no one person. What I'm saying about you being trash is that what is trash? Something that's not able to be used. That's what it is. It's no longer functional, right? So this I'm gonna read. I got this in the lesson, but I'm gonna read this right fast. It says, "Yeah, Michael, the archangel, contending with Hasatan, he disputed about the body of Moshe, did not bring against him a railing accusation." So even Mikael didn't even bring an accusation against Hasatan.
Man, he got that much honor that he didn't bring an accusation against the adversary.
Say it one more time.
Mikael, he who is like Alua,
Right.
had so much honor that he didn't bring an accusation against the adversary. Think about that.
So if Mikael's not even going to bring an accusation against Hasatan, well, how you think Yahuwah looks at you when you bring an accusation against your Moreh or your Ima? Think about, this is what I'm trying to get you to see about dysfunctional or trash. That's when you're on the lowest level in the kingdom. That's when you're lesser than anything in the kingdom. Because when you coming at your Ima or your Moreh or the leadership, you coming at the nation. They'll be like you trying to assassinate your president. Do you get that? So you say you're going to be in a nation. So you know what happens when these nations, where they tear down the ruler, the nation goes into what? Chaos. You know what happened in Libya when they took down Omar Gaddafi? Maybe some of y'all don't know. Do y'all know what happened in Libya when they took down Omar Gaddafi? Whole the cities destroyed, burnt down, people being brought into slavery. I ain't talking about back in the 1600s. I'm talking about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, whole slave markets that was made in Libya. No, it's still in chaos because the leader had been taken down. So when you out here taking shots at your leader, you're taking shots at your own head. You're taking shots at your own nation. You're taking shots at the structure that take care of your children, your wife, the future of your people.
Can I say something right here? See, because there's people that don't believe in us becoming a nation.
That's what it is.
They don't believe in it, and they don't want it. So it means nothing to them to take shots at what is the hope for many of us, right? We hope in Yahusha, we trust in Yahusha, but we understand Yahusha wasn't talking about a mystical kingdom. He was talking about a real place, a real territory, a real kingdom, a place where we could live free of fear of our children being shot in the streets and this type of thing, right? So we hope in Yahusha to bring us to that day when we can experience that. But these people don't care about that. They either don't believe in it or they don't want it. They're quite content in this current system. Maybe they might want to be on top of this current system instead of on the bottom of it, but they're content to be in it. So when they go and they sit somewhere else in another so-called whatever gathering of so-called Hebrews or whatever, they're coming together over a like belief system.
Exactly.
And the like belief system is that there is no kingdom to be built. This is it. Or whatever we're pursuing in this kingdom, whether it's power, success, influence, whatever it is they're pursuing in this kingdom is what they're coming together over, because they've proven they don't believe in the kingdom Yahuwah has spoken of in the word.
So this is Psalms 50 real quick. Verse 16 says, but to the wicked, Alua says, what right do you have to recite my statutes or take my covenant on your lips? For you hate discipline, you cast my words behind you. If you see a thief, you're pleased with him. You keep company with adulterers. Right. You give your mouth free rein for evil, and your tongue frames deceit. You sit and speak against your brother. You slander your own mother's son. These things you have done, and I've been silent. You thought I was one like yourself.
Or one of your little friends. What Yahuwah said.
But now I rebuke you and lay charge before you. Mark this, then you who forget Alua, lest I tear you apart and there be none to deliver.
He just said, you cannot participate in my covenant. You can't even talk about it. So these people that do this, what kingdom are they trying to be in? Because Yahuwah just said you can't even be part of my covenant. And that's the thing, you know. It's a snare when we find ourselves fellowshipping with that, listening to that, giving place to that. Because if we truly believe in this kingdom, we truly believe Yahushua is bringing this kingdom, we can't be divided on that. We either are all in or all out.
So, again, back to Jude 1. We got this in the lesson, but I just read 9. Let's go to 8. It says, likewise, also these filthy dreamers defile the flesh. They despise dominion and speak evil of dignities. And we're going to come back to that. But that word dominion, of course, means rulership. The word, that word dignities actually means Torahs. Judgments. They despise what? That's what, again, Yosef just read that scripture. They despise judgment. So what happens is that within the kingdom, there are laws and statutes and judgments that happens within the tribes. When these tribes come because they hate judgment, then they turn and they revile against the nation. They go and slander. They go tell lies. They go and attack, and they try to tear down the nation from the inside out. That's what they call a provocateur. Have you ever heard that term? Somebody that they send specifically to cause a nation to fall from the inside out. This is the reason why the apostles say that if they was of us, they would no doubt continue with us. But there's a lot of people that's amongst us that's not of us. The sower go forth and sow seed, and then it says, and then the enemy comes and sows seed also. So there are enemies within the tribe. This is the reason why you better watch who you listen to. Watch who gets your ear. Watch who will be in your ear. Watch what they have to say, the things they say it and how they phrase it, because it's going to seal you to destruction. Again, revile not the alls, neither curse the rule of our people. This is what Daud did. Shaul was a whole necromancing, witch doctor, murderer. And then Daud says, nah, I can't dishonor him. We ain't even talking about sins. We ain't talking about wickedness. We talking about righteous rulers. I'm giving you an example of wicked rulers. And then, in that case, they still didn't slander or revile against them. Yahushua, even though he was speaking against the Pharisees, when they asked him out, he says, what? The Pharisees do what? Sit in Moshe's seat. Do as they say, and so it says there's even, because they sat in Moshe's seat, a certain amount of respect that went to them. Just because they sat in that seat, and they was vile, they was wicked. How much more righteous rulers? And again, what happens in these manifestations, it's not about wickedness, it's about Torahs. It's about judgments. It's about correction. It's about instruction. I'm gonna tell you how wild this is. I ain't even seen this before. This is how serious this is. Acts 23 verse 1 through 5. And Shaul earnestly beheld the council. Said, men and brethren, I've lived in good conscience before Allah unto this day. It says, and then the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by to smack him on the mouth. Shaul was like, man, hey, I'm in good conscience. I've been serving you with a pow. You fired. Right? So, 3, Shaul says unto him, he said, so Shaul got mad. He says, Allah smite thee. You right it wrong. You sittest to judge me after the Torah and commandest me to be smitten contrary to the Torah? Now listen to what they say. And they that stood by said, revilest thou Allah's high priest? Then Shaul said, oh, it's not, brethren. That he was I didn't know he was the high priest. For it is written, thou shalt not speak evil to rule thy people. He instantly backed down.
He had just got smacked in the face. Honor. He smacked him in the face. Then Shaul went off on a rant. And they said, you hate the high priest? Oh, that's who that is? I repent. Because Yahuwah's word says honor.
Y'all get this? I saw this. I was like, man, I never paid attention to this script before. He said before the council, and they smacking him, then he's about to turn up, and they was like, you notice the high priest, right? He's like, oh, my bad. I know it's written. Vow not to alls, and curse not the ruler of your people. So I ain't trying to do that now. I'm just saying, don't smack me in the mouth, I might have to put these hands on you. This turn what your chief is, you know what I'm saying? But this is how serious the honor is in Yasharel. This is the reason why when we was righteous, while all the nations looked at us in awe. Because of the way we move with one another, the level of honor and dignity, like how we kept ourselves, the respect of the king. Because like if you was anybody within the kingdom, you was a Israelite. They looked at you like you were of high esteem, much less the king, right? And then when we had righteous kings, our righteous kings didn't rule out of rigor, or they didn't rule from pride. They ruled in humbleness. The righteous kings, and so they would come in, and people honor them so much they would just bring riches to them because they didn't know to do anything else but to submit to the glory that was radiating from this group of people. So me and Ron, we was out, we got some breakfast, and we eating breakfast, and we came in, and, we bowed, how we be doing, and when we do it, everybody's like, you see the eyes darting back and forth, right? Why? Because they've never seen anybody honor each other like that. And then they ask themselves, who are these people? There got to be something noble about these people. Who does that? Who bows when they come in? They're not Asians. It's not Daniel's son. Wax on, wax off. Daniel's sons, right? But the gist of it is when they see that honor, they don't know how to compute that because we live in an honorless nation.
Especially among people they consider black or whatever they want to currently call us. They're not accustomed to seeing us honor each other.
They probably was. They probably went home. Hey, Billy Bob, you know I see some niggers over there bowing?
You think they was Muslims?
They might be Islam.
Muslims.
Muslims. Miracle. Roll Tide. Y'all get what I'm saying? These are things that make you peculiar. The scripture talks about us being a peculiar people. That level of honor between man and man, right? Or woman and woman, or family with family, right? This mindset of purity. This reason why you ever read Deuteronomy where it talks about the curse that came against the women, and it said before the curse came, it says that the woman would be so dainty lest they put their foot on the ground. So basically, it's a euphemism saying of how respected she was and how kept and delicate she was. So that's the idea that it got to be a daughter of Zion. The daughters of Zion have to be delicate. They got to be, it can't be no accusation because they're like these daughters are the cream of the crop of the entire, they're the woman that the whole world has to admire. So it's this radiance. It's not just her physical beauty. It's her attributes. It's her mindset. It's her purpose. It's how she deals even in the presence of men, how she keeps herself. She don't put herself out there. That's good conduct. This is the reason why they took the black woman and they degraded her down to be meat. Because they want to take that glory from being on her. Right? So now we have to restore that. So that's the reason why we're going to have a Torah that you're not going to deal with these men.
That's right. And if,
Oh, yeah.
if you're a woman that can't submit to that, then we don't want no children coming from you.
No. So you have a whole lot of little thoughts running around.
Exactly.
That's not going to happen.
INDEP.
The kingdom is going to be thought-free.
Oh,
100% thought-free. The kingdom.
Put a sign on the kingdom door. Thought free.
Got me? It ain't going to be no whoremongers either. Go read Revelations. No whoremongers. Listen, the word whoremonger is real interesting. Because I never thought, at first I thought like a whoremonger is just a man, just running around doing wild stuff. But a whoremonger might be a man that's not actually having sex. It just means that he's desiring a whorish woman. Do you understand how deep that is? That's mean a man that finds quality in a whorish woman. That's really what a whoremonger is. Somebody that wants a woman to look a certain way or to present herself a certain way, even if he haven't had sex with her. It don't necessarily, that man can't be the man that runs around, but even the thought of it, Lewis says you're not even going to be in the kingdom. So he's basically saying if you have the mindset to degrade women in your mind, undress women in your mind, if that's where your heart is. Right, schizo. If Yahuwah don't want, because he's trying to raise a son and a daughter that's going to honor themselves. How they going to honor themselves with that mindset? So a whoremonger is not just a man that acts on his physical needs or going back to porn. That's all porn is whoremongering, right? He's also a man that has a certain view and respect for the woman. Everybody get me? These are the things that's got to be replicated. Because remember, we just told you, whatever that thing is, it's not just in your ruach, it's in your DNA. That's why you see a dude that chase women, and then you see a son, they never been around them, be out in the streets just running, got 10 kids. And you're like, man, how he doing this when he ain't even seen his dad? He ain't never been around him. Y'all seen this? I mean, if you grew up in a black neighborhood, this is just the norm. Oh, that's what I'm saying. So you see these signs that vile and revilement for the structure of the nation. Oh, how dare they give me? They put me on a Torah. I'm about to speak out against everybody.
I'm grown. You can't tell me I can't talk to a man. I'm grown. You also got babies and you ain't married.
Right.
That you gonna need the assembly to help you with.
And then the man like, how you gonna tell me? I'm a grown man. You can tell me nothing. You're right. I ain't got to tell you nothing. You can just walk on the shield. You can be outside and nobody telling you anything. But a fool hates instruction. Let's keep going. 1 Samuel 6:9. I looked this up and it's really interesting. It said, and Daud said to Abishai, destroy him not. He's talking about Joab. Right? For who can stretch forth his hand against and be guiltless? This is why Daud did it. So, anointed means somebody that's set in the function. It don't necessarily have anything to do with even what they're doing at that time. That's what Daud. So that's why Daud was saying, like, at the time Joab was wilding out, right? There's a whole beef that was going on with somebody that his other brother ended up killing, and this whole thing was going down. And then he was like, man, I'm about to get this revenge for my brother. Stuff just kind of went left. But the idea is that he's saying that even then, that person, just like how David, it's like it's an honor code that we have to move by because of the people that's appointed. Not start with your brother and your sister. It starts there. Then it goes up and out outside the house to the emas, the elders, right? To the mores, the chiefs. This whole process of it just ascending this level of honor. So I can't even do that. So I'm looking up this whole thing about raising a hand. Deuteronomy 17:12 says, and the man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto hearken unto the priest that standeth the minister there before Yahuwah your Lord, or unto the judge, even that man shall die.
Can I put like a little?
That's the debate. Go ahead.
A little test, a little Torah test right here. Here's an instruction. I don't want to see any more women walk past the Maureen while they're teaching, going this way to the other area. Don't do it anymore, please. I find it very disrespectful. You can go out and around to go to any of the other rooms. Hallelujah.
So like Yosef said, that's the debate. The priest that's bringing you, that's ministering to you, and it says that whoever can't hearken unto the priest, that man going to die. To do what? Listen what it says. And thou shalt do what? Dysfunction. That's the whole purpose. To have a body that's fully functioning. A body that's healthy. So whoever can't hearken unto the priest, they wear their death. If you can't trust that priest, better go find one it is. But you better watch what you say about that priest, depending on if they're anointed by man or Yahuwah. You say, well, I believe you anointed by man. You can believe that. Yahuwah don't care about what you believe, though. You really don't. Again, you give you multiple examples of even people that was anointed by Yahuwah but was in wickedness. And Yahuwah said, just leave him alone. Hasatan himself. Hasatan his doggone self. Hasatan. Mikhail's like, oh, no, I ain't about to bring no, this dude been anointed by Yahuwah. Honor. We got to have honor. Honor to your brother. Honor to your sister. Submit yourself one to another. Honor to the elders. Honor to everybody. If you don't have that, I'm warning you. I'm telling you. It's that dishonor that leads to all those other things that issue out from the heart. That's what it is. Because you have been dealing with me about submission. Submit myself to Yahuwah. Submit myself even to Moshe, Chief Moshe. I submit to him. You heard them about that. Submit to him and Kyle. Right? Submitting to my brothers. Submitting to even Akeem the council. Submitting to everybody. Right? Because the thing is, you got to realize what you're trying to do is trying to save your life. It goes back to that trigger in your mind about, I ain't going to submit. Why? Because your ancestors was humiliated. So that DNA that's in you kick against it and say, oh, I'm not doing that. I ain't about to do that. I ain't going to do that. Because I know what that feel like. Because I got 5, 6 generations of that. Right? But that Ruach supposed came upon you and changed your chemistry. Let's keep going. Luke 9:20, verse 19 to 21, it says, and the same day of the evening being the first day of the week, when the doors are what? So what happens when you shut doors? Nobody can get in. So Yahushua was not speaking this to everybody. He was only speaking it to the people that was in that room. Doors are shut. Where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Yahudim. And Yahushua spoke in the midst of them and said unto them, Shalom be unto you. And when he had said it, he showed them the sign of his hands where he was pierced. And they were then were the disciples glad, and they saw Adonai, when they saw Adonai. And Yahushua said unto them again, Shalom be unto you, as my Father has sent me. So the anointed, the Shalakim, at that time it was them. Like we said, at every point of history with our nation, Yahuwah will raise up a representative. Sometimes it's a prophet. Sometimes it's prophets. Sometimes it's sent ones, Shalakim. So it's certain ones that he appoints. Like I've been telling it in these lessons. If y'all don't feel like there is rebirth, praise Yahushua. It might be somebody in some other place. Go find that place. Now. Now. You don't have no more time. World War III done started. Go find that place. Right? But watch what you say. I'll be like, man, can anybody just leave and not say something? Because my mom like, man, my mom said, man, I left church. I did it in the church. But you can't do that in the so-called truth.
That's a different ruach. That's how you leave, but still probably can make it in as the least.
Right.
Because you had enough honor and understanding. I'm not going to slander them, even though. And it's funny because Shaul even separated and went his separate ways from those who had different ideals or beliefs. They didn't slander one another.
Right.
Just like, hey, we believe two different things. You go this way, I go that way. We still trying to work towards the same goal. Right? But it goes back to what you're saying in regards to everything we've endured. But the thing is that, so I also add this in there, is that there's been 2-3 years of this heavy cultivation and how we should be doing things. And this goes back to the reprobateness definition and why I understand it, about choosing to fail the test.
Right.
Because Yahuwah has set this environment here for the last 3 years. We've been here in Anderson about 3 years. Yeah. Other assemblies have been around for however long they've been around. But Yahuwah has had these cultivation centers, cultivating honor, restoration, healing, deliverance. So now what Yahuwah is, how Yahuwah is, and this is what I'm guessing, I don't know the mind of Yahuwah, right? But Yahuwah is probably looking at it like, man, it's been 3 years of this constant cultivation and restoration, and you still choosing to go that way? I'm going to deliver you over to it, right? Because we even read earlier, it says that in Psalms 103, Yahuwah doesn't strive forever, right? Nor does he maintain it. So he's not going to do this all day, every day. He might do it for a time, but then eventually he's going to give you what you want. But that reprobate mind comes with also being a castaway, being unapproved of. And the worst thing in existence is being cast away from Yahuwah. If you've never been there where you felt like Yahuwah has separated himself from you, it's not a good place to be in. To be unapproved of or reviled by Yahuwah, to be seen as an abomination. And that's why these people, when they do that, they already know within themselves, man, this is how he sees me. Right. So there's nothing left to do but to manifest that reprobateness of mind, that it may be a witness to those who they've separated from, to the esteem of Yahuwah. Because Yahuwah will purge them out, right, to give you a greater state of shalom. Like, let me get these people away from you. You see what I just separated you from. You see what I just purged out from my body, but it was for your good.
Hallelujah. Again, I was telling you about, so that word, when it says presumptuously, right? Remember earlier it says that Dawood asked, he says, who can stretch forth his hand against Yahuwah's anointed and be guiltless? So those two words really, rum, yad. The idea is the presumptuously really means to raise the hand. So it says, but the soul that does what? Raise the hand, whether it be born in land or the stranger, saying the reproaches of Yahuwah, that the flesh should be cut off from among the people. So that's somebody that exalts themselves or raise their hand, or basically, so the idea is like you striking, right? Because the Torah says what? The Torah says that whoever strikes their father and mother should do what? Should be stoned to death. So, again, I'm trying to speed this up. We're going to get to the father and mother in a second, right? Ezekiel 20, verse 24 to 25. Because they have not executed my judgments, but they have done what? Despised my statutes. That's what Shaul says. It is that they despise dignities. That word is doxa, which means a Torah or a judgment. And that polluted my Shabbats. Their eyes were after their father's idols. Wherefore I gave them what? Statutes that were not good, and judgments they should not live. That's people that's this thing is catching them, and they going to people who worship follow Malachim. It's catching them, and people that's going into corrupt polygamist relationships, and all kind of wild stuff is going on. But the gist of it is because their heart desired it. People start looking for a crack. They start looking for an offense. In this time, if you're looking for an offense, you're going to find one. I promise you. And 9 times out of 10, the offense is going to be a lie. Listen, there's a whole cloud of people who used to be in or around this ministry, and all they do is lie. Go from place to place and lie. Lie about this and lie about that. Because if something ever came down, we start putting on receipts, it'd just be crazy. Right? But of course, we're not doing that. We don't have no desire to do that. We have too much honor to do that. The only way we'll do that if it was a situation where it was something in public and we had to address it. Right? So we try to honor them and not exposing them when even we could have. Let's keep going. Look at Thessalonians. Let's read it real fast. I'm trying to speed this up. Second Thessalonians 2. It says, now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of Adonai Yahushua, Hamashiach, and by the gathering unto him, that you'll be soon shaken in mind or troubled by Ruach. Remember this, when we read, you said there's going to be a great earthquake in the Ruach realm, and everything that's not stable is going to be shaken off. Right? Know by letter for us, for the day of Mashiach is at hand. Let no man deceive you by any means, for the day won't come unless there be what? Falling away first, and the man of sin be revealed, the son of destruction. So this is where the Christians get tangled up at. They call it, the beast is coming. They don't realize they are the beast. It's hilarious. They are the beast. And then you read the scriptures that did everything the beast said he's going to do. Every last thing. Check it off the list. Right? So the son of perdition is not one man. The son of perdition are sons of perdition, sons and daughters. Sons and daughters of destruction. Sons and daughters who are destructive to the nation. He's saying that they'll be manifested in a minute. I'm going to tell you how wild this is. I ain't never seen it like this. Verse 4. Who opposeth, and does what? So that's that word we just looked at. Rom yad. That's to raise up or to exalt the hand.
It also can be to raise the hand in an oath against.
Right.
You ever seen somebody, when they get upset at something you say, they be like, I ain't about to do that.
Right.
It's to raise your hand in an oath against what's being declared to you. Right?
Right. It says, who opposes himself, so opposes and exalts himself above all that is called a Lord, right? Because they make themselves gods. They're their own alls. They want to submit themselves to the powers. They revile the alls and do what? Slander the rulers. Then it says, all that is worship. That's even Yahushua, because they're about the kingdom. So that he, as a Lord, sitteth in the temple of a Lord, showing himself that he is a Lord. So that means they're in the temple of the Lord, which we know that we are the temple of the Lord. But that's also the tabernacle of Yahuwah, tabernacle of Dawood, which are his tabernacles, his assemblies. So they sit in the midst of the assemblies declaring themselves to be somebody. Sons and daughters of destruction. 5. Remember you not when I was with you, I told you these things. Know that he that withhold it, at what time he must be revealed, for the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he that will let it until he be taken out of the way. And the wicked be revealed, whom Yahuwah or Adonai shall soon consume with the rock of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Hasatan with all power, signs, and lying wonders. So again, we know it's talking about the system of the beast, but then you have the children that are the system of the beast who are in like manner. Right? First Titus, I'm just going through these scripts. 1 through 2, it says, rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a what? Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a... So again, let's get understanding about what the scripture said when Yahushua says, call no man father. So we wasn't literally saying that, because we say that what? Shaul and Timothy. Timothy called Shaul spiritual father. So what it's saying is, in that particular text, it's talking about the Pharisees, and it was tying into like their beliefs and their ordinances that was written. But this right here, 1 Timothy 5:1 says, rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as and the younger men as brethren, the elder women as umas. I got a problem with the Ema. Who she thinks she is? How she gonna tell me she not my mama? I got a mama. Who is he? He ain't my father. He ain't my dad. I got a dad. How you gonna tell me? Now Yahushua says, who is my, and who is my, but that's why they say he ain't my father, because he's not. That ain't my Ima, because he's not. Because they're children of Hasatan. They're sons and daughters of destruction. They're destructive, pernicious, self-willed, like Shaul writes. They're after their own government. So it talks about the elder. So an elder, according to 1 Timothy, is a father. The elder women are emas. The younger sisters with all purity. So what are we talking about? Proverbs 15:5. A fool despises his, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. Reproof, with instruction. So what happens is we come into these places and somebody gives you a Torah about a specific thing, and then they just manifest. Because they hate the Father. Honor thy the elders and the elders in the assembly. I ain't about to give him no honor. He's just a man. I ain't about to do that. She's just a woman. That ain't my mama. Who said, honor your father and your mother, that rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as the younger men as brother, and the elder women as your young sisters, younger as sisters, with all purity. A fool despises his father's instruction, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. That's why they're manifesting, because they hate instruction. It takes instructions or commandments to build a nation. It has to have a constitution. It has to be constituted with words and commandments and statutes. So they go to tear the commandment down. This is what they'll do. They'll be in the middle of assembly. You give them a Torah, and they'll kick against it to see how far they can get. They try to set a precedent so people won't have to what? Hold to the commandment.
They're lawless while claiming to love the Torah.
I just wanted to add this to what Mori Yahushua is talking about this Torah, all these statues. And so when I was looking at statues a while back, all these the Torah, the ordinances, these limits, when you look at the root of it, it talks about it's like a het and a kuf. It's talking about what a statute does. You have to have a constitution. So with that het comes in and it separates people. Right? And then that kuf brings everyone together. So that's what a statute does. It cuts people off, and then it brings people together. That root also is affiliated with festivals, feast days. And we talk about this cycle of having to kick people out and then bringing people in. That's what a statute does, and you have to have that.
Hallelujah.
That's what I wanted to add. Hallelujah.
That's crazy.
What's the term when they try to make alterations to the Constitution?
Amendments.
Amendment. So this is the issue. A lot of us, and when you say somebody be in the middle of the assembly, you give them a Torah, and then they'll kick against it to see how far they can go, right? So they won't have to hold to it. We're too busy trying to make amendments to Yahuwah's Constitution or his Torah. But his word says don't take from or don't add to. You know what's crazy? You know that when a ruler is raised up, and Ahmad talks about this all the time, and Mori Moshe talks about it, and Mori Yusha talks about it in regards to giving the authority to bind and loose. Right? So, and it's funny because I'm looking at how the high priest reacted to Shaul, right? And the authority he had to know he had to have in order to respond in that manner at that time, right? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, if a chief gives you an instruction, it's literally as if Yahusha gave it to you himself. It's likened to the same thing. It's like, in a sense, to you in your scriptural book, it's like if it's written in there, thou shalt not blank, right? But the thing is that we don't revere the instruction givers, so we're not going to honor the instruction given. But Yahuwah says don't take from or don't add to.
So just giving clarity again what you just said. So we know, like you just said, he gives the ones that sit in Moshe's seat, he says he gives them power to make things binding or loosed, right? They can. That's why we see people come in like Moshe and add the divorce, or see the Shalakim come in and add, take away circumcision. Somebody add something or lose something. So when it says you add to or taking away, you add to or taking away the commandment that's given from the person that sits in the seat. So somebody comes and they give you this Torah, and you say, well, I'm not gonna do what they say here. I'm really gonna just do this. That's the rebellion against the set commandment, because the person that sits in Moshe's seat has the authority to give you that that commandment. But that commandment is going to be based off Yahuwah's commandment, and everything is based off the time of that specific people. So again, and that's why you're saying about their word being given and separating. And let's go back to what Malu just said earlier about the definition of reprobate, because it says what?
Choosing to fail the test or failing the test.
That's the commandment. Because the commandment comes and the test is, can you hold to the commandment? Right? So what happens is, and then we say, well, but what about the people? This is the thing about it. Yahuwah establishes and he takes down. So any ruler that comes with their own Torahs for their own benefits, he removes them. So this is where we go back to about trusting Yahuwah, right? You have to trust that Yahuwah don't make no mistakes. So if the person or the place that you in, if you're worried about them possibly bringing some crazy Torah and trying to control you, then you was in the wrong place from the very beginning. Everybody understand? That means you chose the wrong place. You have to trust them from the very beginning. And you didn't trust them from the very beginning. The fathers and the mothers. A fool despises his father's instruction. So what happens with a father when a child deals with a father, the father don't have to explain everything to a child, because the child is not going to fully understand everything that the father's giving him. But the child trusts that everything that the father's giving him is for his good. There's no child that's out here that think that their father is out to get them. I ain't never seen no 5-year-old child think that their father is out to like destroy their life, unless, of course, he's a psychopath, like, what I'm saying, crazy person. You know what I'm saying? They might know they're going to get a butt whooping. They'll get their butt tore up. But even a child to get a bunch of whippings, know that his dad is not his enemy. He knows that whatever his dad tells him, the dad might give them bad Torahs. And the child believe 100% that the dad right.
Even a psychopath dad wanted his little son to grow up to be a little psychopath like him. He not out to get him. He going to train him up in psychopathic ways.
Right.
Yahusha said, even an evil father gives good gifts.
You be like, my daddy said. Go ahead.
I wanted to give you another witness to that, because you made me think about Barit and how early it starts off. So we start off early, especially if they understand what you're talking about, right? So I'll take Reed. Let's say, I tell him not to touch something on the speaker, right? He'll look at me, and children, they're gonna try it, right? And so let's say I tell him, we have to give mercy. Let's say I told him like 5 times not to touch it. Extend that mercy. And so eventually I give him a little tap on the hand, right? You know what he gonna do? He gonna cry, and then he gonna walk up to me and hug me. Right. It starts off early. Right. He knows I'm not a terror to him, but he also knows some kind of way, not even one yet, he knows that he disobeyed me and came into trust me afterwards.
So just remember on Pesach when Chief Moshe said now it's about sons and fathers and mothers and daughters, right? So that's how a son interacts with a father. That's how a daughter interacts with a mother. The problem is you done said this recently too, we have bastards all through the assembly, a bunch of bastards, a bunch of baby kids. I mean, for real. And so they acting, or they're putting on this act as though they're a daughter or they're a son, but they're really not. Because again, like you just said, there's no son The son doesn't think, especially when he's a child. When he's a child. Now, our son has been abandoned by his father. You get older, that's a whole different ball game. But we're not talking about, we're talking about interactions, not non-interactions. So a child, when he's a child, he looks at his father, even when his father disciplined him, as being on his side. So he's going to trust the word of his father. Like I said earlier, he'd be like, my daddy said, my mama said. Your mama might say that the moon got legs and got a mustache. You're going to believe that thing because your mama said it. My mama said it. Right? Because that's the trust inherently that you got in your mother or your father that they are doing these things on your behalf.
I was talking to somebody at the gym in the sauna, a Gentile. In Shio. I was in the sauna. So, I'll be in there reading scripture. And people, they want to talk about it and stuff. They want to talk about the Bible and everything. But I always try to see first if they believe the Bible, because they might not believe it. And I'm not trying to make them believe it.
Right.
So this dude was telling me about a story about his grandfather and his uncles, and how his uncles all went off to live a certain type of lifestyle, but his grandfather was a farmer, and he still works as a farmer today, and he has utility in his mind, but his uncles went to do corporate jobs, and they're getting dementia quick because they didn't keep up with their body or their mind.
Right.
And so he was saying how his father picked up those traits, and he has now begun to walk in those same in that same order. So he was telling me about that, and I was like, man, that's interesting. So then we're talking about the Bible, and I was like, I don't even know your grandfather. But what you just told me, I'm sure you believe it.
Right.
It makes sense to you because that's your grandfather.
Right.
You don't even know your great-grandfather. You never met that man or his father, but you know he's real.
Right.
You believe the accounts about him, the testimonies, and they bear witness with you. So when I read these scriptures, they bear witness with me because I look at them the same way you look at all the anecdotes and stories about your forefathers.
Right.
And because they're about your fathers, you have to believe them, and I don't.
Right.
And in the same way, I have to believe this.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
I'm not tripping if you don't believe the Bible.
Right.
You can believe all these books. But this is about my forefathers.
Right.
This bears witness in me. I seen, we was talking about this stuff being genetic.
Right.
A fool despises his father's instruction because that's not his father.
Right.
So Yehuda, we was talking about whoremonger. That was Yehuda.
Right.
I read about him, and that stuff bear witness. He also repented.
Right.
I read about that. That bear witness too.
Right.
That better be my forefather. Somebody else can read it and never repent. That's fine, because it's not their father.
Right.
That's how you figure out who is somebody's father. If their word bears witness in them. If the testimony bears witness in their being.
Right.
So the word should be cast out there, and then you will see who is a son and who is a bastard.
Hallelujah. Proverbs 30:17. The eye that mocketh at his father and despises to obey his mother, the ravens of the valley shall pluck it out, and the young eagles shall eat it. Who's the eagles? The nations. You're going to be devoured. America. America. Proverbs 5:8-14. Remove thy way from her and come not nigh to the door of her house, because remember Babylon is a mistress. Let's not give thy honor unto others. Let's not give thy what? Let's not give what? To where? And to thy years to the cruel. Man. Lest a stranger be filled with your wealth. All these things going to happen. You're going to give all your time working for somebody. You're going to decline in every way possible until you descend into Sheol. That stranger be filled with thy wealth, and labors be in the house of the stranger, and thou mourn at last, and thy flesh and thy body are consumed. That's a whole lot. 12. And say, how have I, you're going to say after that, how have I hated instruction? I haven't hated instruction. My heart hasn't despised reproof. I have not obeyed the voice of my teachers, nor inclined my ear to them that instructed me. I was almost and all in the midst of, because you hate instruction. Why? A fool despises what? And then also, rebuke not an elder, but treat him as a father, and the other woman as emas. Right? Then it goes on and says, the man that will do presumptuously or raise his hand against or his will against the priest that stand, or a person that standeth to minister, right, or to judge, even that man should do what? Because we read earlier, they are worthy of death, right? Because they are counterproductive to the nation. Proverbs 11:11. By the blessing, this is where it get wild. By the blessing of the upright is the city exalted. That's the elders. Upright goes back to that word Zakane. Somebody did a lesson. What was it? Marty did the whole thing about the tree. So they ended with the trees one being taller than the other. Right, the real meaning of Zakane, which means the most upright tree. Right, the most upright tree. It says, by the blessing of the upright, that's the elder, is the city exalted, but it's overthrown by what? So this is where it gets to. So I'm going to get to a point. I'm going to read this real fast. Leviticus 19:32 says, thou shalt do what? The hoary, that means the gray-headed. That's the age or the elder. That's the Zakane. That's the elder. So they translate it as old, but that word is Zakane. It's the elder. You shall raise up. So the idea of raising up is the same thing as bowing. Like you come into a room, like you do that, they should do a certain place on the cot. You come in, you have to stand up. Like you go to a courtroom, what you do? They say you come in and it says all the honorable. So they bestow what? Honor on the judge. Now I'm not telling them, please don't start doing that if I walk in the room and everybody stand up. Don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah. They're like, don't do that now. Don't do that right there now. Yeah, all right. That's wild. I don't.
Yeah, it's going to be me that boosts it. All rise. See, some of y'all ain't get it. Y'all ain't rise.
Yeah. Y'all the rebels out there. I see y'all. Nah.
Because he said don't do it.
Yeah.
So we decided.
Yeah, they honoring the commandment. I said don't do it. So the whole concept of bowing, that's the bestowing honor, right? Talking about the gray-headed and the Zakane, the elder man. And it says, fear Yahuwah, for he is Yahuwah. So the rising and this the honor, but the honor upon the elder is also the blessing of the city. Because the elders are the ones who will sit on the council. They're the ones that'll be the judges. They're the ones that'll be I hate to use the word constitutors. That's not even I don't know if that's a real word. But they're the ones who constitute the framework for the nation to exist. It's like you have, like for instance, like a judge or like a representative in the House or a senator. Like, of course, they do it wickedly. Everybody know that, right? But they sit in the House of Representatives. They represent you to have your voice heard before the powers. Say it again? The elders at the city gates. So that's why when you bless it, if they are exalted, the nation thrives. Did everybody get me? And they're exalted, then the nation thrives. Right? Psalms 8:5. For thou hast made him little Lord of the Malachim, that has crowned him with kabod and honor. Right? So look at that word honor. Is to be it's really hadar both times, but you go to the root of it. I just put both definitions. The first definition, it says ornament or splendor. When you go to the root of it, it says to glory. It also means to be high. To be high. To be high. To be high, not high like smoking. To be high. I'm explaining something. Pay close attention. You're going to see it in a minute. Let the elders that rule, right, that rule be well counted worthy of what? Double honor. especially they that labor in the word of doctrine or the Lekai. Against the elder receive not what? But before 2 or 3 witnesses. Now we're going to go back to that word honor, meaning to be high. Right? 1 Peter 2:17. Honor all men, love the brotherhood, fear the Lord, and do what? So it's making a difference between Yahuwah and the king. A king is just a chief. That's all it is. So we're gonna look at this real fast. So this happened on Mirash. What happened? We honored the chief.
Hey,
We lifted him up to be high.
hey Chief. This is a wild photo because you got me in the back with a struggle face trying.
Nah,
We got him up there, though.
we got him. We'll hold him up there.
Yeah.
So, to be high. So, from that Mirash, people saw that and they was like, they were angry. People were angry. People were angry because we lifted him up. Now, he's the chief of the nation. So it says, by the blessing of what? Is the what? So the only way the nation could be exalted is if Chief Moshe is lifted up and exalted. Yahusha is the chief of the entire kingdom. He says, if I be, I should do what? That's if I be honored, to be high. We call Yahuwah the Most High. So, when we was here, what was going on was, Yahuwah let me know, it says that in order for the nation to thrive, that Chief Moshe had to be lifted up. For the city to be blessed. Now, he's not lifted above you. Nobody's lifted above Yahuwah. But it also says to do what? Honor the chief. Fear Yahuwah, have brotherly love, and honor the chief or the king. So that's what we was doing. And what Yahuwah had put in my ruach is that the whole nation of rebirth is going to be blessed by honoring him. He didn't ask to be honored. I told Yahuwah spoke to me, and I told him, if y'all go back and watch the video, you see me walk up to him and whisper, like, start talking to him, and then he looked at me like, all right, nah. He's like, all right, you better go get mots. We can rock his eye because he'll pick me up. So, Chief Moshe did not ask to be picked up. I told him that Yahuwah had put in my ruach that we had to. And so then Yahuwah gave it to Malu about bringing him out, because my mom said that we got to bring him out, and then he confirmed it. So we went out and then we came back in. So everything that's done in the natural is also done in the rock realm. So it just so happened that there also was new moon. Not too long after that, the war started.
Expediently.
So when one nation is being brought down, another nation is rising.
So even the context of how that happened was amazing, because like Mori Yahusha said, Mori Moshe's mind wasn't, they better lift me up. He's not that manner of man. Right? He's one of the most humble men you'll ever meet. Mori Yahusha's the same way. Right? But for Mori Yahusha to even sit here and say, Yahuwah put it on me to lift him up. Most men won't. I come from a place where ain't no brothers trying to lift you up. They try to tear you down. So for that to even happen, and then in that moment for Yahuwah to say advance,
Right.
and that's everything you're talking about. What you're talking about is that for the nation to go forth, a chief has to be lifted up. It's impossible for a nation to go forth if your chief is not lifted up.
So I'm going to give you an example of what we talked about earlier. So you know what happened with Russia? Putin. When Putin came, before he came into power, Russia was not doing what Russia is doing right now. It was in a whole different situation. During the Boris Yeltsin and the whole issues that was going on, if y'all remember Boris Yeltsin. When Putin came in, he's like, with the idea of restoring the USSR.
He came in being seen as a man of power.
Right.
Power. People, even the United States congressmen were lifting him up
Right.
as a man of power who's worthy of respect. You can't have a weak leader who nobody respects and be a sovereign nation.
AKA Joe Biden. Sleepy Joe.
I'm going to hit him with some sanctions.
I'm hit you with some sanctions, even though I'm just brought up in the country and took it over. You was talking big noise until we got there. Now they all scared.
He said, check back with us in a month, and we're going to see if the sanctions work.
So going back to we talking about these rebels. So when we did this, instant manifestation. Instant. Because they're not sons and daughters of the house. They're bastards. Listen, there's people who watch this channel. There's people who hate us that just sit around and watch this channel. They figure out what I'm going to say next. To go run to somebody, listen, that they've identified as a breach in the assemblies. All right, y'all hear me? 7 assemblies. There's enemies of the nation that watch these videos. I'm looking at, I'm pulling my Danny Yahoo impression, pointing at the camera. Go point at him, Danny. Zoom in. All right, listen to me very carefully. There are enemies who sit around and watch the videos. They figure out to run and tell because they've identified certain people in all 7 tribes that are breaches. And they come to you to speak specific things spun with corrupted ideas and false narratives and straight up bold faces to turn you out of the way. But you know what I say? Toda. You anointed to do your Lord's will. Take all the rebels. Take all of them. Call them up. Call them up. Get them on speed dial. That's the thing still. Go visit them. Inbox them. But like, hey, look, we want you to come join us. Go join them, please. Please. You're doing us a service. Go get all the rebels that sit up in these assemblies that will listen to you, because anybody that will listen to you are devils. Keep doing what you're doing. Hallelujah. You doing your Lord's work out here. I'm like, man, these jokers like street sweepers. They coming in and getting everybody. But we street both his lies. I'm like, man, this is wild. But I told you, who said he gonna thoroughly purge his floor? He doing it. So I'm like, I told the chief, I said, Chief, man, like these folks out here, they anointed doing this work out here now. They snaring all kind of people that was on the who was never for us. If they was of us, they would no doubt continue with us, but they're not. Who's my father? Who's my mother? Yeah, and they're like, they're not my mothers and those not my fathers. So when they give me an instruction, they despise it. So that's the reason why they turn up when they saw this. Can't follow Rudolph no more. They're lifting people up.
But they would be happy to follow Yolanda Adams, Kirk Franklin, Joe Biden, CeCe Winans, any number of celebrities that they would, Joel Osteen, any number of celebrities that are constantly lifted up in their eyes. They have no problem with them being lifted up. But that goes back to not believing in the kingdom.
Right.
Or not wanting it.
I'll do you one better. They're going to go to their kids' football game, and then they're going to win, and they're going to lift them up.
Wolverines.
Wolverines! And they're going to walk them out, and they're going to be there. I love little Billy. Right, they're going to be all proud. Swear that was, but that's what they do. Do it all the time. They can go, like you said, they'll go to their favorite rapper. You can come to them and ask them about Jordan or LeBron. They're going to argue you down because they're going to exalt them. They're going to lift up his jersey. They might have it in the plaque in their house. Aha! So, go ahead.
I was just going to say to that same point, in Revelation, it talks about the heads of the assemblies being Malachim, calls them Malaks. And so the thing is, they represent you. That's your representative. Like we was talking about how you have a House of Representatives as a part of your government. The chief, your head, represents the whole body. before Yahuwah.
Right.
That's why it's saying, like, don't. We're just talking about the priest and all these different people. That person is interceding for you.
Right.
Lift them up so they can speak to somebody on your behalf. If you hate who represents you, what hope do you have? You're done.
So, again, people are manifesting because of what's in them wickedness. People that are dysfunctional, people who hate, like they said, despise dignities, despise dominion. They hate authorities, even the authorities that are on their side. Authorities that are trying to expand their nation. They're trying to bring them out, trying to establish the kingdom. Right? So again, this is what y'all missed it. If they missed it, because I know they watched it, because we actually said that. Lift up your heads and be lifted up what? And what happened after that? So that word head is Resh or Rosh. That's the chief. Lift up the chief.
In actual culture, in actual ancient civilization, that is exactly what they did. They opened the gate so the dignitary could be brought in.
So we gotta get more Musha a lounge chair.
Yeah.
And some long stems and kind of usher him in. We ain't do it big like we used to do it. But the thing I want to say about that image, can you go back to that image right quick, Chief? The one you had of, look at the people around.
Worshiping. Are they worshiping more emotion?
No.
Does it even look like they're worshiping more emotion?
Our people have been so disenfranchised and torn down that it's a beautiful sight when you can see us as a people and as a nation. There was multiple tribes in here that night.
Right.
All rejoicing at the fact that their chief, their representative who Yahusha has chose has been lifted up so the nation can go forth. Right? It's a beautiful thing to see. And it's almost like one of them visuals that lets you know that everything is shifting.
Right.
Everything is turning. Right? When we can do something like this and not be upset in the midst of it happening, right? That means we can go forth. And that's what Yahuwah was saying. Advance now. Advance. So I just wanted to say that the tribes, the multiple tribes who was there and their reaction to it in live time, it was beautiful.
Right.
It was 4 tribes here that night. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And 5 tribes.
Okay.
And Chief, for you to allow Yahuwah to use you for that moment, right? It's one of the most humbling things. I'm telling you. I done shared my testimony with y'all.
Right.
Brothers tearing down brothers. I'd had an attempt on my life like 4 times from dudes who were supposed to be my brothers and stuff like that, right? So to see that, it lets me know that we're a different manner of people.
Right.
We got different manner of chief.
Right.
We got a different manner of chief, right? And I want to be a part of that. I want to continue in that as it advances.
Hallelujah.
Right? So praise Yahuwah.
Hallelujah. So, again, like we talking about the honor, right? So those who despise honor, not only do they not have honor, but they despise those that honor is bestowed upon. But it goes back from those traumas, us being those rats that was experimented on, right? As we still have this thing that fights against somebody else receiving honor or right. Go ahead, Mom.
Okay, so it oftentimes to honor someone else, to lift someone else up, makes us feel diminished. And when we feel diminished, then we feel like we have to stabilize or assert our own selves. And when you're focused on stabilizing and asserting your own self, you can't make any corporate movement, right? And that's where the enemy, that's where the oppressor wants to make corporate movement, because we're focused on stabilizing ourselves. Right. This is how they infiltrate us every time. This is how they infiltrate nations on the continent. They get somebody that's worried about stabilizing themselves.
Right.
And in doing that, they don't care about the greater good for the most people. So that is proof of healing in our nation.
Right.
That's proof of healing when we can lift up a leader and say, praise Yahuwah for this leader.
Right.
We trust him. Right? That's proof that we've gone through healing.
Hallelujah. So that's what we did in the ancient days to Dawood. Right? They sung songs even about Dawood. Right? But they also worship Yahuwah. They didn't put Dawood in the place of Yahuwah. But they also show him double honor because of the work and because of his life and his heart that he had for the people. Right.
It was so much honor that they sang songs about him.
Oh man, Israel be in an uproar. We come out a song about more emotion.
Man,
It be
look,
like an atomic bomb in the awakening.
y'all just think about that.
Nation
They-
making songs about their leaders. Go ahead.
no. That's exactly how it would go. Man, y'all, they sang songs about Dawood. Imagine you walking down the street and they, this modern day equation, you pop in the tape and you hear, yeah, Maury Musha, the rebirth chief, Yahusha set him up. Something else. This modern day, I know I can rap, but I'm not trying to. I'm just think about. Hallelujah. So this is Psalm 45. My heart overflows with a pleasing theme. I address my verses to the King. Man, they got bars. My tongue is like the pen of a ready scribe. You are the most handsome of the sons of men. Grace is poured upon your lips. Therefore, the Lord has blessed you forever. Gird your sword on your thigh, O mighty one, in your splendor and majesty. In your majesty, ride out victoriously. For the cause of truth and meekness and righteousness, let your right hand teach you awesome deeds. Your arrows are sharp in the heart of the king's enemies. The peoples fall under you. Verse 6, your throne, O Lord, is forever and ever. The scepter of your kingdom is a scepter of uprightness. You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore, Allure, or Yahuwah, your Allure, has anointed you with the oil of gladness beyond your companions.
You might miss that. He called Dawood king. He called Dawood Allure, or not Allure, but Elohim.
Right.
He says, "Your Allure."
Right.
He says, "Therefore, Elohim, your Allure."
Right.
Exactly. That is our El that represents us. He said to Moshe, "You will be an Elohim before them."
Revile not the alls, nor what says like persecute the elders or something like that. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that because and we're going to get back there because Yahuwah esteems those who he raises up.
Right.
So this is just the start. Stuff like this is just the start. But it's amazing the mindset of our people at that time by those who Yahuwah had anointed. Right? Because they know that the whole nation prospers when the chief is lifted up. When the chief is respected and revered. And we're going to get back there. We getting there. Hallelujah.
Y'all don't talk about how they're trying to start beef between Shaul and Dawood. They start putting out tracks. They start putting out tracks about Shaul.
Yes. You killed 1,000 Shaul, but Dawood killed 10,000. Oh! You know, the people going boost. Oh! Shaul like, get that nigga.
It was the women. It was the women. It was the women low-key being messy. Outside talking about, ooh, Shaul, remember how he killed thousands? But Dawood, he did them 10,000s? Oh! And Shaul just outside his window just.
Yeah, it was Remy Ema in a Coty of Rage. They had a rap battle about Shaul and Dawood. Putting all kind of tracks, man. But again, we see that it's not like Ma said something real deep. I don't know if y'all caught that. It says that Israel is mad about us being Israel. So we are doing the ancient things that Israel has always done, and then they see it and then they hate it. So again, we talk about the heads And that was the practice that every culture did. That's one reason why we would carry the Ark of the Covenant the same way, because the Ark of the Covenant was the throne of Yahuwah. They call it his footstool. So we would carry it the exact same way on stage. But the leaders a lot of times would carry it in that way, lifting them up. That's why they be called the all. Let's keep going. So again, we see the comparison. I'm just showing you how we're doing things. Last a couple things I'm going to say about us doing things in that ancient manner, lifting up the chiefs, the head, the Rosh. So I had seen this. So because one of the other things that was said is, man, that's almost like they're trying to act like he's trying to be Jesus, right? Not Yahusha. Because like, man, he's standing there like, what is he trying to do? I can't believe he did that. I can't believe he had that. And I was like, what did they do? I went back and looked. I was like, oh, they trying to act like he was just holding up the rod. What are they trying to insinuate that he was holding the cross? And then Yahuwah had me say, just go look up, start looking up stuff. I said, man, let me look up, and I found this thing, African chief, right? Spain, 1870. I am mi amigo. For real, it says that.
Spanish, no Rosetta Stone.
African chief. Why? Because he was doing that in the city assembly.
That was not rehearsed. That was Ruaco.
Chief from Spain or Spain and Portugal. African chief.
Pops, so if you look at shepherds in Africa, that's how they carry their staff.
Man.
You can search it. That's how shepherds carry their staffs.
Praise Yahushua. Double honors to Chief Moshe. Hallelujah. 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 Now that mercy worshiping Moshe.
Yeah, you're going to need a part 5.
Put out this track. Gets more Yahusha. No, they done already done that though. I forgot you did that. Hallelujah. So again, when I saw that, I was like, man, Yahuwah don't do. He always has a confirmation. Cause like I said, none of the stuff was rehearsed. It was stuff that was happening in the middle of worship. It was turning into worship. And the chief was doing these things, which is all symbols of the chief. Both things were symbols of what the chief does. And it shows like him being exalted at time was of Yahuwah. Because again, when the chief is blessed or exalted, the city is blessed. That's how the nation goes forth. It's like a body. Before a body moves forth, the head has to move. If you're laying up in the bed, when you awaken, when you rise, it's your head. Right? So when the head is raised, the body is raised. When the head goes forth, the body moves forth. That's the reason why you have to exalt. That's the reason why we have to be a people of honor. We have to get this in our DNA. And we have to come with another generation of honor. Right? That's something that the world doesn't know of and haven't seen. That's how we change the culture.
But you said, Maury, you said when the body gets up, the head raises first. If a person has a problem with the head being raised, they probably aren't part of the body.
There you go. Say it again, Mom.
Maury just said that when a person is waking up, that their head raises first before their body follows the head. So if a person is having a problem with the head being raised up, they probably are not part of the body. Because they should be able to rejoice over the head raising if they're part of the body, because that means my body's going to raise too.
Hallelujah.
Right.
Hallelujah. So, last thing. I'm going to speak about, I got more slides here, but that's all we're going to say today. So, man, so I saw Benaiah post this, and this, because the other thing, I told him, well, Boy Kowal ran into some things that he was talking to me about, and the same things I done ran into, while people were still trying to talk about worship. I thought we done passed that. How we done pass all this? But it just so happened that Benai had posted something, and it's really interesting, right? So I don't know if y'all know who Olu Equiano is. So a lot of people, when they talk about Hebrew history, they quote him because he talked about how his family kept all the Hebrew customs, but they didn't even know nothing about no Bible. Right? He was Igbo. He also was a abolitionist. He wrote his own biography. All these different things. So he said something about how they worship is really interesting. So going back to these things being Morocco and Yahuwah restoring these things, this is what his quote said. He talked about how they would worship. Listen to what he says. The young men will occupy the third, and the maidens the fourth. Each represents some interesting scene of real life, such as a great achievement, domestic employment, or a pathetic story, or some rural sport. And the subject was generally founded on some recent event. It was therefore ever new. This gives our dances a spirit and a variety which I have scarcely seen elsewhere. In other words, to give us the dance is something that nobody else really does. We have many musical instruments, particularly drums of different kinds. A piece of music which resembles a guitar. Another much like staccato. These are chiefly used by betrothed virgins who play them on all grand festivals. Now listen, he talks about their dress, but I'm going to get to the next point. Listen what he says. He says, we're almost a nation of dancers, musicians, and poets. Thus, every great event or feast or gathering, such as a triumphant return from battle, or some cause of public rejoicing, is celebrated in public dances, which are accompanied with songs and music situated for the occasion. The assembly is separated into 4 divisions, which dance either apart or in succession, and each character peculiar of itself. The first division contains the married men. You know how we come in and it's the houses, right? Who in their dances frequently exhibit feats of arms, in other words, swords or weapons, represent the battle. To these succeed the married women and then the second division. I read this backwards, so let me go back and read the other verse. So you see, he's talking about how they come in these first divisions. You got the married men, which is the houses. They come in and dance. They have the swords or weapons. The next thing you know, you have the women come in. They dance in the second division, or the dancing women. Right? Then, like I said, I read this backwards. Then come the men who occupy the third, and the maidens the fourth. So they go out in these successions. Like you have, just like we do, you see us coming here. We'll do the wheel for a while. Then you have. Maybe have somebody come in the house and the house go in. Then you might have the dancing women go forth. And then you see the men go forth, right? The men going forth with what? Weapons, right? So everything that we're doing, I was first remember read this quote. I saw it, I said, man, this is crazy. They're saying that and in the midst of that, you got it's all drums, and you have certain people that have something similar to a guitar. But you know that this will be playing that harp that's not technically a guitar. You understand what I'm saying? So everything that they did in the midst of their worship is what we do, even down to the different divisions going forth in the dances, without having known nothing about it. It's in your DNA. And so, and going back to the dancing women, there's actually a scripture that talks about the dancing women. In certain tribes, there's one tribe that the dancing women were basically renowned, but that got them in trouble. but anyway, I'm just giving you a whole.
I'm not saying this is the actual thing. But with the drums, the married people going first, and then the young man playing the drums and dancing and stuff in a circle it's on YouTube. And they're doing a war dance.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And they're doing a war dance.
You're right. That's it.
I'm not saying they're not doing it to Yahuwah.
Right.
They're doing that.
Yeah, because we took bits and pieces of what Yahuwah established, and then we did other things with it. Yeah. But I just want to show y'all, just like how Yahuwah was using us to do these things in the assembly without knowing or connecting none of the pieces. It was just what was coming through the Ruach. And that's what we've been doing in this awakening. That's what we continue to do through the Ruach. So, I got more stuff, but we ain't going to talk about it because it's already 8 o'clock. Man, on the dot.
On the dot.
Yeah. Usher out here. 8 o'clock on the dot. So, so anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom everybody in the house. Shalom everybody online. We'll talk to y'all later.
Rebirth of a nation. Hebrew kingdom building.